is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day, and welcome to episode 22 of Sunday Morning Conversation, where we talk to business owners and content creators in the trading card and collectible card game space. If you want to be on a future episode of Sunday Morning Conversation, feel free to email me in the description below or on Instagram. We have a very special guest today, a amazing seller, an amazing buyer, a bulk genius, if I do say so myself, and quite frankly, probably the best looking man on YouTube. It is Ryan with AVATCG. Ryan, dude, how are we doing, man?
Doing very well. Thank you for that introduction. I will contest that there are more, better. I think Brian from Pokey&E would say he's got better hair at the very least.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, he's got a mane that I wish I was born with, but I sadly lost mine when I was like 10. But yeah, so outside of my introduction, if you want to introduce yourself a little more, who you are, what you do, and then we'll get started.
Sure. So I'm Brian. This is AVA TCG. Started this about a year ago, a little over now. I started it from there with a Discord, and the whole idea of the Discord was to help people find shiny cardboard in the wild. We're almost at 4,000 members, and we're creeping up on 1 year and 3 days. And it's a pretty active group, and I knew right away that I wanted to make sure that people could find it in the wild, because I grew frustrated about not being able to find anything in a store. And then kind of from there, I wasn't really operating much like a business. It was just sort of the server that we were building. It was gaining traction, and I loved what we were building. And then in December, I had a sort of an interesting thing happen, and it led me to ultimately bulk as like a getaway for people, because I saw it as a vehicle of people need an out, and sometimes they just need a win. And so I started to understand a little bit more about that. I watched some things from yourself. I went back to the well from Rob and Mason and others, the gentleman from Game Vitamins, who I can never remember the name of. But I went back to the well, and then Phantom popped on the scene and showed me some things in that capacity. And so I really leaned heavily into the bulk, because again, I had this very I call it a moat, but I had a very large community that I could serve directly without having to go outwards to anything else. And so from there, it was, how do I get really good at understanding the math behind the bulk? And so from there, I've just probably, I've said this before recently, but like 5 hours a day at night, every night for the last 8 months to just really build this up. And that's when I felt more serious about this being a business, was pretty much as of January.
Nice. Yeah, I would say that's probably when I moved into this apartment I'm at now, and I took that because I was in literally a 300 square foot bedroom, and I had those black and yellow Home Depot shelves, and I just had like each row had 4 or 5 rows on it, and I was pulling boxes off of boxes, and I really felt like just getting the space was more. It was like, there's an old Jet Li movie where he'd wear a dog collar, and every time he'd take the collar off, he'd turn into this vicious fighting animal. And it's like the minute I got the space, I was like, let's go. It's like, it's game mode. Before I ask you the first question, I didn't realize it was AVA. I kept saying AVA this entire time, like it was a computer from whatever video game is. What is that? What does AVA actually stand for, now that I'm ignorant to this?
So the lie I'm supposed to say is that I'm from a place called Aldie, Virginia. And so I'm supposed to say that. And maybe over time, I eventually just keep saying that and just leave it be as the lie that is settled. I just like the way the A, the B, and the A looked. Like, that's literally as simple as it was. Originally, I wanted to be called Limited Edition because that's the name of the comic store in Unbreakable. And I really wanted that, but there was no way I was getting limitededition.com. I did look into it, and it was going to be a ridiculous amount of money. So I said, okay, I've got to pivot to something else. And so for a while, it was AVA Limited Edition. And then eventually I just dropped Limited Edition because it didn't really flow with anything. And so maybe down in the future, I'll have a section of my website that's limited edition, just a moniker to pay homage to the beginnings. But right now, it is the lie is probably easier to swallow, but it just turns out I like the way it looked.
Spoiler alert for anybody who has never seen them: the Unbreakable movies are fantastic. I remember seeing Split, spoiler alert, in theaters, and I was the only person in a sea of 400 people at the end. And I was just like, ah! And they were like, what? And I'm like, how do you not know? Anyway, great series. Watch it. So January is when you started you really going the crazy route with bulk. 6 months, 12 months, 18 months before that, what were you doing to get to where you are now? And are you? We talked about this a little bit before we started, but it sounds like you're doing a little bit of a different approach than most people do when it comes to sealed bulk and how you trade those off. So maybe tell us a little bit how you're planning on tackling the card industry.
Yeah. So I'll start with the first question. 12 months before I really started, I was happy at home, getting a lot more rest. I just didn't have kind of any of this on the radar. And the business started actually from a place of sadness. My mother was diagnosed terminal last year in April. I was kind of floundering from the diagnosis. I had lost my father about a decade earlier. Both cancer. It is just something I deal with at this point, right? She's still alive. Grateful for that. But we're just running out of the sand in the hourglass at that point, right? And so I was sort of floundering. This is April. And my son and I, every Saturday from pretty much the age of 1 till about 4.5. Actually, kind of this story ends it. I went to a local comic store because I'm a big comic book nerd, always have been. And we had played on a Magic Arena. I've been a 30-year Magic player. I love Magic. And he would help me click a button or two, right? It wasn't anything, but he enjoyed it. And he wanted to do something different because every Saturday we would go to the comic book store, and then after the comic book store we would go to Chick-fil-A. He'd get to play, he'd get ice cream, he'd get the whole thing, and then we would both go take a nap, right? It was a perfect Saturday basically. And he asked me that particular Saturday, it was like May, can we do something else? And I said, well, you like this game, do you want to go to a card store? And he has no idea what it is, so I take him. And I'm convinced that we're going to open like Murders of Carlo Manor or something cheap, right? Like a $3 or $4 pack. And
Sure.
we have never once talked about Pokemon, not even a little bit. And he goes into the card store and he sees the Pokemon packs, and that's it. He was like, can I open one of these? Because I told him he could open with something, right? And so I walked over to the young lady that was there, and I was like, listen, I have no idea. I've never opened Pokemon up until this point ever. I played the games, I watched the show, but by the time it was in my life, I'm an older millennial, right? So I was chasing girls by the time this was really more popular than TCG, and it was a little bit more for my brother, I think, at that age range. And
Sure.
So she pointed me in the direction of Obsidian Flames, and her reasoning was effectively that it's a smaller set. He'll probably like a Charizard. I was like, he'll absolutely like a Charizard. And you're more likely to hit it because it's a smaller set. And he didn't get anything. But the way in which he looked at the cards and took his time with every single card, like even the energy mattered to him, right? It was the smile and look on his face. And I have this great picture of him in that moment. And coming off this serious low in life, seeing him smile and engage in this way, as a parent, I was like, oh, I got to have all of this. This is a high I'm going to need for the rest of my life. And so I really dove in, right? It started with that. And then it became kind of this hunt for, well, I can't be paying $7 a pack all the time, right? And that's the cheapest it was, right? It was the Obsidian Flames pack. So I went around trying to find cardboard in the wild with no luck. Joined a Facebook group that was a little bit more helpful, but not great, because by the time it hits Facebook, it's usually cooked, right? Like even then. And I got through an SPC line, and there were like 200 SPCs dropped at the target. I waited for 4 hours, got literally nothing. I think it was like 2 from the last 2 that didn't get, or something like that. And I was like, well, this is very frustrating, like to the point of aggravation. And I joined a different Discord server, and I'm friendly, I should say, with the owner of that Discord server. And to be very honest, they ran a very good server. It was the same kind of idea behind it, that we were trying to help people find stuff in the wild locally. But it didn't work for my brain. It was a chat-based system, which basically was, like a giant text at all times on Discord. And my challenge was, if you saw something pop up, at XYZ target, there's a drop, 50 people are asking questions. At that point, you don't even know where it is anymore, right? And so unless you're going to scroll up for 40 minutes, you don't know what the news was. and that Facebook group was going to shut down. And so I said, let me take this as an opportunity. I know how I can from my phone create a server. I had a logo because I had the business as a technicality, where I wasn't really using it, but I had it. And a couple people showed up day one, namely, and probably most predominantly importantly, my server mod and the person who helped create the bot that we use to pinpoint the drops that are local to people. And we just started developing, and we were talking real, not janky, but like real vibe coded. Like we were teaching people how to use command structure in a Discord so that it would pop up like this is where this is happening, but this way we could kind of control the chaos a little bit more. So instead of it being in a chat, it would sort of launch something. And about a month later, so we started in August, by about the end of September we had a more sophisticated bot, but we also still were using a command prompt structure, which gave us sort of a competitive advantage in the space. We were small, but we were sort of out punching our weight class here, because the people who were using our server were a bit more determined to like help each other out, even if it was a little bit more difficult to do it this way. They sort of saw the end run benefit of it, and so over time we made it easier. We probably waited a little too long to make it very easy, and now it's all button based technology, like nothing that it shouldn't have been from the first iteration. But we were focused more on getting the how, not the how is more important than the how does it look.
Sure.
And now we've married the two up. And so we started at August 17th of last year, and by September we were at maybe 100, by October maybe 2, by November 500, by end of January 1,000, and here we are at almost mid-August, and we're close to encroaching on 4,000 people. And one of my goals is to, whether that's realistic or not in the short term, is to get it in all 50 states, because I look at it as this is a tool that can be used the way we've built it in every location, and all it requires is the people in the surrounding locations, wherever you live, to also want to participate in the experiment of helping each other out, because it requires it's a community-based dialogue, right? Like you might be at a drop personally, and that it's happening, so you hit the restock notification. It then tells everybody else that has signed up for that area, that role, that says, hey, this is where it is. And now I don't go to drops as much as I should, right? Like I pretty much at this point know where every drop in the DMV is, and I don't go because I'm usually sorting and sifting bulk. But the reality is I do know, and we have some great forecasting tools and live mapping of where drops are, and anyway, we've done a lot to make it what it is. But it is ultimately community powered, right? Like if people are willing or not willing to share the information, it dies off. But it's sort of this two-sided incentive. The first is we've incentivized the structure itself by saying the top 25 people each month get all of our tools for free. So there's a reason that somebody wants to do it in the first place. And the second incentive is just, if I help now because I'm out here looking, somebody else is going to help later when they're out looking, and I benefit both ways. One of my favorite features actually of our server on this aspect is the empty function, which is the same bot, right, that we've built. But it is literally a call out that says, this store is empty, right? Like there's nothing here, but it saves people the time of driving to that location that they may have done otherwise, right? So it's a lot of time savings in that capacity as well. So so we built this, and then I still hadn't really, we were building a server, but I hadn't really built out my business, right? I was on Whatnot for a little while as a rip and ship. I very much enjoyed it. Mostly because I was just doing a rip and ship. I wasn't doing really anything else. I think I had plans. I know I had plans of different things like wheels and other things, but I never got to it because ultimately it's just not where I wanted to be in that space. I don't think it's criminal or anything. It's just not where I wanted to be in the space. And I enjoyed the act of the rip and ship. And then in December, effectively, the rip and ship stuff had gone pretty well. But now I'm sitting on a mountain of bulk because I wasn't really shipping anything but the hits. And I was like, what do I do with all of this? And right around the same time, and this is why I actually credit this individual with a lot of the balance of the force of change for me. Um, I was on Whatnot as a buyer all summer last summer and getting so many CGC who gives a shit slaps. And I racked up about $4,000 worth of slabs. And in my head, I was like, well, it's inventory because I'm gonna use this in my streams. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And so I justified it to myself, right?
Sure.
And so come December, this individual posted in the server, hey, willing to buy CGC slabs for X up to a minimum value of Y. You know, you get out of these slabs if you'd like to. And I looked around and I was like, why am I holding these? They've been in the box for 6 months. I do not want them. I do not need them. Sam, I am, right? Like, and so I went to him. We worked out a great deal. So again, I paid about $4,000 for all of them. He was willing to give me trade for a little bit better of a rate.
Nice.
And I worked with another vendor who wanted specific high-end cards, slabs. And so I was like, listen, you get to pick the slabs if you're going to buy them for me at 95% of whatever they're worth. Right. So that was the value stream. Like I worked with person one to work with person two so I could get 95% of that value rather than the chop it. Right. So I walked away with like 28.50 or something like that in cash from a 4K mistake effectively. But at the time, literally the next week, that same guy who bought the slabs from me, he's like, listen, there's a guy here. He needs cash like right now, and you got all my cash. He's selling an Evolving Skies booster box and an acrylic. Do you want it? And I was like, sure. How much? He was $1,700. I was like, yep, you can give him $1,700 right now. I'll give you the $1,700 on the swing. And the deal with him, this vendor, was try and sell it at the show. If you can sell it for what market is, you take a little, I'll take back mine plus a little more for the risk. But it didn't sell, and I'm frankly glad it didn't now. But like the fact of the matter is, somebody took the time to say, I know people have these things that you don't want, that most people don't want, and you need an escape. And that is when sort of that moment clicked for me, is that again, people need this escape. And here I was sitting on this mountain of bulk going like, I know I'm not the only one. And I had started very early on with this business doing two things: selling my comic book collection to fund the initial concept of this business, and I have 20 years or 30 years of Magic like collection, right? So I went through and did an initial alpha sort and sift using Mana Box, I think, and it was just it was apparent to me like there was a lot of value in these cards that I just didn't know, right? That I had just been holding on to for 30 years. And I have never actually sold them. It's one of those things that is like, because I have a lot of incoming, I've given myself the excuse of I don't have to sell my collection in order to do something. But if I did, I would sell it out of necessity. But when I was looking back at that time period, I was like, okay, well, I started this with bulk as an idea. I was watching Rob, I was watching Mason, I was watching Game Vitamins, I was watching these people. And here I am at the precipice of kind of this new journey at the end of December, beginning of January, where somebody just helped the hell out of me with a bunch of junk that I didn't need. And I have a bunch of junk here. How can I make this work? So I sort of just wrote like an open like invitation to people on the server of, this is what seems to be normal pay cash for. I looked around locally at what some of the stores did. Most of them were in trade credit, and just said, well, I'm not at the time. I was like, I'm not going to offer trade, right? Because I want to keep all that shiny stuff back there, right? I wanted it to keep increasing its value as a sealed collection. And so I was like, well, I'm willing to pay, right? Like I'm willing to work that out. And the first month, I ended up getting an invitation to do a show. They were looking for somebody to run what they called a kids corner. They were new show runners. They were looking for somebody to take over this part of the space. Because of that, the tables were going to be free. And so the economy of scales there was much better. I was like, I can watch kids and give them some, I literally made little crayon things and coloring books and whatever. And my thought was, they do that. The parents talk to me. We get people to bring their bulk, yada, yada, yada. We took about 30,000. It was a little less, like 27,000 that first show, that first day. And but it was really actually more from the vendors, not from the actual patrons. And we had some people that showed up from the Discord. It was a little less advertised on my part. I could have done better, right? But I also felt like it was a good proof of concept. Like here was a kind of a day one experiment, and we had 27,000 cards all of a sudden. But now I also didn't know how to move them.
Sure.
Right. And so I know we were talking a little bit about this in the pre-show, but Phantom's video that about how he was planning to move things, and that there are large bulk buyers that if you have a large enough quantity, they're willing to work with you, and you get a slightly higher percentage effectively. That gave me the business model, but it was you that gave me the permission, because right then and there you were dealing with a lot of challenges, shall we say, on the YouTube space,
A little bit.
and I don't know whether it forced your hand, but you took a step that I don't know that you were originally prepared to take, which was effectively liquidating your at then inventory. And while Phantom gave me the concept, you gave me the permission structure to say, like, here's a guy who probably doesn't want to do this or doesn't know if this is going to work out. But when I saw kind of like that cash out mentality of, oh, I can make this work, that hit me in the head. It was like, okay, how can I make that part of this wholesale engine work? And that's when I leveled up further. And I was like, if you can get rid personally of the things that you care about, right? And whether it's singles, slabs, it doesn't matter. And for me, it was my sealed inventory. And that's what people are after. Because again, I went back to the drawing board and I said, well, all of these stores, yeah, they put out singles and slabs. They usually take out the really nice stuff on trade days, but they do put out the singles and slabs, and they have a bunch of sealed, which they have massively marked up, usually like 30% over market. Where can I go? And for me, it was I can turn my sealed inventory that I spent the last 8 months collecting and actualize it. And when I first started, the plus for me was there's a gentleman on Instagram, U1 TCG, and he was getting a little bit more popularity on Instagram at the time. And his big pitch was, you don't have to sort. And I was like, there's a genius to that, because no, you don't, like, not making the user submit 100 card batches of pre-sorted materials equals a value to them.
Yeah.
And from there, I was like, all right, let me take that concept. Let me take the sealed trade-in concept from the stores that do it themselves, but I'm not going to be 30% over market. If you bring me enough bulk that you could pay for the box, I'll give you a 5% discount. And so you're getting it under market, which but to be fair, stole that general idea from PokePaster, and just applied it to sealed as it relates to bulk, because the escape was enough to build back against those margins, right? So that first month we took in like 30,000 total. The second month, I want to say we took in another 30, so it was working, but like I hadn't hit a critical mass. March we increased. What I can tell you is my first buyout for all the cards that I had sent in February, as collected between January and March, was about 2,500 after all fees and shipping and everything. My second buyout 2 months later was $5,000, and my third buyout a month later was almost $15,000. And the end of this month, assuming I hit target, which it looks like I should, that buyout will be about $60,000. And so for me, the wholesale model has proven the ability to turn sealed into a profit engine by also providing a value stream to people who want out of the junk, like wanted slabs, but into something, whether they want a single that I have or a sealed piece of inventory to rip. Or yesterday, somebody, I shouldn't say yesterday, this week, somebody brought me enough bulk that they got a Sword and Shield UPC for free, well, from their bulk, and they ripped it. And they told me they were going to rip it, and because I was having the conversation, I was like, so it comes in this acrylic, do you also want the acrylic, because we can work on that separately? And it was like, no, I'm going to rip it. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So
if you rip it, make sure you give me your bulk.
Oh no, absolutely. And he got scorched. I mean, he showed it. So we have a flex corner and we have a lost corner on our Discord, and he got scorched by it, right? But yeah, there was a guy like 2 months ago that had the Sword and Shield UPC, and it got the same thing, and he ripped it too, another one, and he got scorched just as much. And I remember telling that guy, I didn't even try it with this guy. I was like, I have both. Like, I have the promos and the packs that come with this. I'll give you the promos and the packs to just not rip the box. And they were like, nope, I want to rip a box. I want to rip the UPC. I was like, okay. But it's been a big change. So a year ago, I had none of this, and like nothing that you see in the background, none of it. And in the last 8 months, we will close out on about 100 grand in revenue, with a fairly healthy margin, because a lot of it is bulk. I think the key piece that I have found is that you can buy sealed pretty well at 80%, right? Like if you hit enough at retail and you buy enough at 80% in cash value on a whatever DR booster box or something, and then you trade more, right? The effective rate of every trade goes down. So on average, between the retail hits, the 80% buy, and then the trading against things that you bought at 80%, by the time you sort of look at the averages, it's about a 75% effective rate of cost. And so if you're buying at an effective rate of 75%, but selling market at 100% through bulk, and then making margin on the back end because of the way bulk liquidation happens, you're well on your way to healthy margins. And I list playable cards. I've done about 5 grand since, I want to say April, in playables on Tcgplayer. And I remember I told Phantom specifically, do not see how you're going to get playables through the door on eBay. I, as a Magic player, that makes no sense to me buying anything that would be playable from eBay. So I was adamant, I am going to make it so that the playables sit on Tcgplayer. I don't care about where the best premium in theory is. This is where they're going to move. Yeah. To be fair, I think that bet was right ultimately, but even if it wasn't,
I think it is, yeah, especially for as long as I've been on Tcgplayer. Not to say that you can't have success selling playables on eBay, but I don't know. There's such a such a player's site that it's almost like, boneheaded not to. But it also depends on the card. I mean, there's some cards that if they are that playable, like what was it with Wilds of Eldraine? Your up the beanstalks and your like those real just crazy staples. Yeah, I mean, you could probably get away with putting those on eBay, but
sure.
Yeah, what's funny is when I originally sold, I have an older video, I might link it in the description, I don't remember, where I liquidated, it was probably about 275,000 cards. Mm-hmm. And the thing I have an issue with is and it's funny, is like, you might have an idea, right? And you might think it's a really good idea. And it's a niche thing where if you master it, maybe you could be that guy where you just own that thing. Mm-hmm. But then you have to have the discussion with yourself, is the niche big enough to warrant the time and effort that you're putting into it? And I was always stuck on list everything. No one does it. I can do it. But I think I was actually like a week before, 2 before, so those cards, I was watching an episode of Shark Tank. And one of the things they had put to one of the entrepreneurs was, I think it was Kevin O'Leary. He's always like the truth bomb in that show. He's like, listen, you sell this, which is just to women, and you sell it to only women in this age. And then in those ages, you only have X whatever. So you're selling a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche, and you literally have to capture everybody in that niche in order to succeed. There is a reason why most companies don't do that. And that is when I started to open up to the fact of, you're not going to get every ounce of every profit out of every card. You're not going to, the amount of time that you worry about doing that, you're probably going to do yourself more harm than good in the end. So there are areas that you can pick your spots, or like we discussed, I'm kind of listing everything, but I'm starting to limit, like, maybe just 10 of a card. That way, if someone wants it, I'm the guy that's got it. But do I need to have... what is this? Do I need to have 120 youngsters from Scarlet and Violet base?
I
It's
mean,
never been
maybe.
played in a deck, and probably not. So like, is that is the worry and time of having that card for that one person that needs it? What can I do with that little bit of money?
Right.
Repeat, 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 and it sucks because when you think you've got a really good idea, it's almost like when you don't like somebody, you can pick apart every little thing they do with ease when everyone else is going to be like, brother, what's your problem? It's not that big of a deal. Same thing with when you have an idea and you're building a business. I think that is the greatest idea ever. It's got its moments to shine, but maybe it's not the best way to go about it. And, it can be a stomach punch to you because you've kind of bet. I have, or you might have, really put all your money in on something that is a really good idea that you think that may not be. And with business, you kind of have to be open to the fact that if what you're doing is not ultimately for the betterment of your business, it is okay to pivot and change. And it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. With the way that bulk is now, because arguably I almost think of RNG Games channel like AC and BC in the Bible. It's like there's RNG games before and after, and way the bulk market was, right? With more and more people getting into bulk and doing bigger things like you are in Phantom, where it's just like mass in, mass out. I know there's a lot of bulk, but do you think there's ever a spot where there's going to be too many chefs in the kitchen to where everyone's just going to be shipping sifted bulk for in perpetuity to where it may not make sense to do anymore? Or do you think there's just such a metric, unfathomable, unquantifiable number out there where it is going to always be a successful business model if you're willing to put the time and energy into making it work?
So I'm going to go with the latter for my answer, but I'll explain a little bit as to why.
Sure.
So uh, if you're not familiar, there's a channel called Final Trade, and he has a quote that I like to abuse a lot because I think it's a perfect synopsis of what this is. These are scarce collectibles that people like to destroy for fun, right? And so the reality is there's a reason that you have damaged and lightly played and near mint and moderately played, right? Things happen, right, to the cards, and master setters need things and players need things. And it's funny how many times as a Magic player, and because I think you were one for a while, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you might have even had the cards, but you're unwilling to take them out of the sleeves, out of the deck that you've already built it in. So you will buy more of the same card that you already have to go build that other deck. And so one person might have 8 copies of Rancor because they wanted it in 2 different decks.
It's arguably why Commander has so many high value cards, because no one wants to deep sleeve. If you have 50 Commander decks, you don't want to have one Soul Ring that you put in each deck. You're going to buy a $2 Soul Ring to put in each deck. But if you have a what's the thing that got nuked when it got banned, Jewel Lotus? Not everyone's going to have 50 copies of a $500 Jewel Lotus. They're going to have that one card and swap it in and out. Yeah.
Sure, and now I'm gonna cross genres here and
crossing streams, first time on the podcast. Yeah. Let's go.
Oh yes, we could talk movies all night. So that's dangerous. In fact, I'll pivot to that in a second, real quick. But this feels more akin to why my wife has like a lot of shoes. She just like. There's a shoe for different occasions, right? And so even though they're all just technically shoes and will get her from point A to point B, there's a shoe for this and a shoe for that and a shoe for this, right? This color on this kind of day and this kind of sun, whatever, right? And I don't think it's that different in the cardboard world. That's number one. Number two, there's the fact that these things get destroyed either on accident or on purpose, right? And then finally, there is... I don't think anybody would be surprised to find that the wholesalers are likely all going to be repackers. There is both a level of ignorance that is a part of this hobby, right? A mother or a grandmother or a kid or just this is all I can afford. It has nothing to do with ignorance, but I can afford the $4.99 repack versus the $7, $8, or $15 pack that's on it. And my kid, who's going to destroy these things anyway, is happy with just getting something. So because that environment exists, and basically at the back end, the people that those environment that product is ultimately built for is more likely to destroy it. It just is a self-replicating machine. Now, on top of that, there is just I think that Pokemon in general, but all of the TCGs, well, the top end TCGs do a very good job of finding new ways to get to new players and new generations. They've never going to lose me for Magic, even though maybe I actually don't care about Universes Beyond. I think it's a net positive, but like I understand why it would be a net negative to others who
Sure.
really do care. But my challenge with that concept or with that complaint is that you don't like it until you happen to like the set. So it's not that you don't like it, you may hate Universes Beyond, but once they really scratch your itch, like I'm a big Star Trek fan, like this Trekkie thing, I am full degen on it personally, right?
It was
Like
Fallout for me. I was like whatever, but Fallout came out and I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I played Fallout, I loved it, and I wasn't back in Magic at the time. I'd come back during the Mirrodin block, and I'd come back during the original Tarkir block, and then I came back.
Tarkir block is probably one of the best blocks ever. So good.
It was like 2014, 15
yeah, 13,
era.
14. Yep.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that block, Beyond Theros, and or was it Beyond?
No, it was the original Theros. It was Theros, Born into Gods, Journey to Nyx, Tarkir. Yeah.
Oh, I love Journey into Nyx. Yeah. So
good.
Anyway, I look at this and go, they're always expanding, and so there is always going to be this command demand, and not to mention you're now in a prime place where the people who have money are also now parents who are longing for the nostalgia of the things that, like myself, I didn't open Pokemon, but I opened Magic, but now my kid wants to do this, so I'm happy to do it with him. So there's just, and hopefully, I'm sure what the Pokemon company and Hasbro are betting is that connection will breed the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And so I don't see an end state. Could there be a bear market? Sure, right, but I just don't see an end state where it goes to net nil. I was talking with my bulk buyer, and I asked him this very simple question: what is this like in a down market? Like, I only know this in an up market, so what is this like in a down market? It's like, I've been doing this for 10 years. The margins don't change. Your buy prices and my buy prices change, but the margins don't change. You'll have to work harder to get the same revenue standpoint, but your margin doesn't change. And I was like, all right, like I get it. Like, but on the flip side, and this kind of goes into why I am very big on the wholesale model, Sam Loomis Live, who controls and runs Loomis Live.
Shout out Sam, you're the best.
Shout out. He's very much in your camp, right? Keep everything, list everything. Hell, I know Mason from Cardinal has talked openly about the fact that he's literally collecting bulk for when the dark days come, because that's how they're going to survive, right? Like, I get that there feels like a bell curve to that scale where it matters not until it matters very much. And
well, frankly, I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but that's kind of how it worked for me. I mean, I had this stuff for so long because I was buying it when it was like $5 or $10 per thousand, that I literally, like, if I would have sold that stuff a year prior, it would have been 3,000 or 4,000 versus 10 plus. Yeah. And not to mention, because I did what I did, I was able to like literally squeeze every like ounce of. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it kind of goes down that route. So yeah.
You got every drop of it for sure, right? And one of the things I've liked about your channel, and just you, is that you've openly discussed the debt process. I pretty much say it in every video. If I don't, I'm probably failing my video, but I have over $1 million in debt. Like, that is not a lie. That is not a claim that I state gladly. Like, it's just a reality. And some of that, a large portion of that is educational debt, but not all, right? And some of it is business debt, and some of it is just life debt. And I didn't start this business to get out of that debt. Like, I'll be able to do those things with my current work position, and it will just take a very, very long time. But this business could, in theory, proposition me to get out of that debt faster. But the wholesale model makes sense to me because it doesn't. For me, I look at it as it's working on an abundance mindset. two things being true. One, if there's a downturn, there's going to be more people who are wanting to get rid of the stuff that they are holding on to right now because they need to get out of it in any capacity that they can. And so that those people who know how to move it, yourself, myself, whoever, with the least friction and the best speed to this, are going to do very well when that market happens. And I'm no fool, that market will happen. But I look at it with an abundance mindset of there's plenty to go around right now. And when a market crash happens on the TCG space, there will be even more to go around. Now, how you move that, or the margins being the same, but maybe the revenue being different, may mean you're doing more work for what used to be very easy to, from a top line revenue standpoint. But I don't look at this as a scarcity issue, nor do I look at the buyers as a scarcity issue. There may be less people willing to spend 25 cents on a playable card, right, or 40 cents on a playable card, right, because maybe there's just less players in the space. I happen to think that in the next bear market, there are going to be more players because the players can actually afford the packs and doing things like that, right? Like, and so I don't know that there's ever such a drastic turn to warrant the scarcity version. Now, what you just said was interesting because you soaked up all the value out of that lot, and because of where you were from a position when you did sell, you got even more value versus when you could have churned and burned it a couple times over. That's how I felt about my sealed inventory, right? Like, oh, I do not want to get rid of this because it's all going up over time, or it will all go up over time, and I'll do the 3 to 5 year. And what I've more or less gotten to is the frequency and speed of which I'm able to turn sealed into bulk into cash, and then rebuy the exact same product at 80% or whatever, right? Like, I can replace what I wanted to keep in the first place, but make margin in reality on top. And so that's more or less the method. Now, there may be things that I choose not to replace because there are other ways to spend my dollars right now. But it was it came from Brian, but I might have heard it from Brian Pokini, but I think I heard it from DJ talking about it actually. It was a piece of advice that I think he gave DJ, which is none of this stuff is as special as you think. And you know, you're holding your ETB, that Pokemon Center 151 that you're so proud of in the acrylic. It's all special to you because it's yours. Yeah. But when you take a look at the wider space, there are hundreds of, or if not millions of these around. And when the bull market stops, when the music stops and the chairs are no longer able to be all sat in, and the bear market for everybody starts, we're going to be at a place where that 151 that was so special to you is an escape velocity because it will hold the most value, and therefore when you need $1,000, you're going to be able to get $1,000 out of it. But also 5, 6 months or 2 years after the bear market starts, you might be able as a business owner to get that same 151 ETB that was 1,200, I don't know, like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, for 750. And you, all you did was wait for a downturn in the TCG space, and we'll go back up, right? Like, I'm sure that same box will be $10,000 one day. I don't even question that. But I looked at that kind of lesson of, it is special to me because I spent all this time and money and aggravation and trading and figuring out how to get the box in the first place. And then it's when I heard it's really not that special, I looked at it and went, I guess none of these things are. And so velocity is the best thing that I can do with it.
Yeah. It, you know, saying that really kind of it really rung a bell with me, because when I started, I've talked about this before, I had $30,000+ in debt. I didn't have a lot of money to play with. So, bred out of a necessity, I had to list everything.
Right.
And then I found success doing it. And then because I was able to accumulate, same song and dance. And I think because it's almost like when you have someone who's like really poor and they had a really poor upbringing all their life, and they finally come into money and they barely ever spend it because they know how bad it can get. That's why I have and still fight with the idea of, you know, holding on to things as long as possible, trying to eke out every penny of every card, because A, I know I can do it, but B, I've been at the worst end of like, you know, 40, living at my parents' house, not having any extra money, and and it's almost like a safety mechanism. It's I know that, and I want to go to that, but I'm also doing myself damage because I'm not letting myself grow into what I've allowed myself to do. Or someone out there might be in the very same situation where you're teetering between listing everything, or maybe you're far enough along to where you want to try something that AVA is doing, and you can find yourself in this conflict of like you bet on yourself and you won, but now it's like I'm scared to take the next step because I'm safe over here. I can get this. I can do my little thing over here in perpetuity and be fine. But at some point you have to take a shot, and even if you take a shot and you lose, you can't really lose on bulk because there's always going to be someone that you can liquidate it to, and pretty much. I don't think there's anything in trading cards that you can buy, hold on to, and literally never lose, or just have it appreciate over time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there, not even trading cards. I don't think there's anything. I mean, you buy a car, it loses 50% of its value off the lot. You buy a house, and you can't afford it. You're losing 20 or 30 grand or 10% or whatever because of whatever they got to. Like, there's literally nothing, no big asset out there that I can think of. I'm not a finance guy.
No,
That when you buy it, you can immediately just turn it right back to the person you bought it from or someone else for the same amount or more. And I think that's what's special about bulk, and why I kind of get a little worried with how many people are getting in it. But I think me and you both know that it takes a special person, whether you're doing what I do, whether it's going from listing everything to kind of in the middle, or it's a lot of work. The amount of sifting, the amount of packing, the amount of lifting, the amount of moving. I mean, the guy that I sold to a few months ago, he is like the guy in my area. I'm almost like junior to him because I just have a good reputation around where I live. But if you sell bulk, he has the highest rates. He's the one you go to if you have more than 250,000. He gives you a little bit of a premium. Boom, like that's it. That's him. And it's just it's a crazy business, and the amount of work I see him do. He's driving around his cargo van. He'll go to conventions or collecticons, and next thing you know, it's literally 500 loaded ETBs in there, and it's probably going to take 3 hours to remove all that. It's just. A lot of people might think that it's really easy to say, I'm just going to flip the hundreds of thousands of cards of bulk. It takes a lot. And that might actually be a point of like, hey, that's just to the question that I asked, like if you think, or I think that everyone's going to be doing this, and it's probably not going to do that because there's not a lot of people that are willing to put in that much effort of hauling stuff in. I mean, hell, I'm in a 4-story apartment. When I sold that, it took me 2 hours to haul that stuff down, and I'm in Florida, and it was hot as hell, and it sucked. But then having 10 grand was really nice. So it's like, is the juice worth the squeeze? And that's really only a answer that you can answer, a question that you can answer for yourself, and finding the middle point. I used to think that finding that middle point of that was a burden. But I'm starting to learn that is actually the fun part of this, is like, where on that scale am I going to land to where it's the sweet spot for me? And you watching, you're going to find that sweet spot eventually for you. And then you just have to make sure that when you find that sweet spot, you can give a little bit to one side and you can give a little bit to the other. So that way you're not pigeonholing yourself into, one specific little thing that, you want to have your hand in as many ponds as you can. What's Rob always say? There's enough bread in the pond for all the ducks, and you got to make sure you're quacking. So it's,
That's the reason he's the godfather of bulk, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I think often from how would I scale this, or what more can I do, right? And you were talking about how will this go, or with the increase of people in the space, the increase of what you have to pay for even just commons and uncommons right now, right? All of those things play in. But the flip of that is two things are true. One, I always built my rate card against my exits. So I tried to make sure that my rate card was always competitive, but that my exit was always better, right? I know very early on, and he's right, but I never played with it that way. But he's technically right, and you were just alluding to you can't really lose, especially with bulk, right? Because if you bought it for $10 per thousand, and all you could do was sell it for $10 per thousand back to somebody after you got some amount of value out of it, you're still ahead, right? Like you've moved out. You didn't get anything extra, but you've moved out. You didn't lose anything. Sometime there's a guy on my server. He's helped me with a couple deals. He brings me his bulk now, and he brings me all the bulk that he collected because he started to try this, and then he was like, "Oh, this is not for me." Like that the 5 hours I work minimum a day is no joke, right? Like that is.
And you got a family and kids. I'm riding solo over here, and there's still days where it's just like people who are successful at this and have families, I'm barely able to do what I can, and I have no one relying on me. So, yeah, it's.
Yeah, I use differently between the hours of 5 and 9. That's why we're recording late at night here. I lose between 5 and 9 every single day because that's when the kids are home. We're gonna do dinner and bath times and all the other stuff. I work a full-time job. You know, I'm very happy with my job. I like my job, which I know is not for everybody, right? Like I know you've talked about kind of the challenges you have with your profession, right? But I happen to actually like it, which means I'm actually not motivated to leave that job, right?
Sure.
So I work effectively an hour before work every day, a little bit throughout the day, like messages here or there, right? And then 5 hours every night. Now, it may cumulatively over a period of a day add up to an 8-hour day on top of the already 8 to 10-hour day I worked for work, on top of everything I did for the family. So where I give is on the sleep. But at a certain point, that's either going to catch up to me or it will catch up to others. My superpower has been I sort of just push myself forward and will grind through. It's one of the things I respect the hell out of you personally is that I know you're a grinder. You will just put shoulder to the wheel and make it happen, right?
To that point, you actually just made me think of that. Is the job thing is if I had a job that I liked, I probably wouldn't be as fervent. But it's like, for any of you wondering, this is a back scratcher. I fiddle with things, and that's what keeps flying on the screen. Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
But it's like I feel like I am a wolf with his leg in a trap, and I will do whatever I can to free my leg from this trap, which is why the listing everything. It's like I don't care. I will literally do anything. Anything is better than what I'm doing now. But yeah, that's just it's an excellent point that you brought up because it made me think about that. And it's like, yeah, that's right. It's thank you for the compliment, but it's like, so if you're not under the gun, you're not necessarily going to be prepared to do the things that you may need to do to get business, rolling.
I've described it as a wall of fire.
Yeah.
Which is because of all my student loan debt and my personal debts and all the debt in life, right? There's this wall of fire behind me at all times. And the only thing that puts more distance between me and that wall is time and money. The more money I have, the more distance I get away from that. It doesn't not exist until the debt goes away. It's always tracking with me. It's always following after me. But the only thing I can do is put more money between me and it and enough time between me and it.
It's like those stages in what's it, Rayman, where you have the wall of fire and you're just like zipping through. As long as you keep in motion, you're going to be fine. But the minute you stop for 1 second, done.
It's right there. It's right there on your ass.
Yeah.
And so that's how I've always looked at this. And because of that, I remember when I met my wife and I was explaining to her my financial situation because I've got to be honest with something like that. She was like, "How do you exist? Right? Like how are you functioning right now with what you've just told me?" And I was like, "Here's the thing. I grew up. I would say I grew up not. I want to be targeted in this comment. Very low middle class. We'll say it that way.
Sure. On a scale from 1 to 10, you were a 3.
Yeah, we weren't on food stamps because we were just making just enough money to not pay food stamps and everything, right? Like, I grew up in a good home. right? Like I can't take anything away from that. I grew up in a loving, good home, but we just didn't have a lot. And as we moved, which is one of those things that is a life lesson too, that like you sort of have to do what you have to do as a family, as a husband, a father, whatever it may be. My father didn't want to move, but we moved because it made the most financial sense. It made the most sense. And that move really launched us into like real middle class, right? Like because all of a sudden they were more stable, and frankly it was easier to from living in New York, where it was way too expensive, to not living in New York. Basically that's all you had to do. And so I've seen how decisions that you make can change the outcome, but the problem is you were talking about the person who didn't grow up with a lot of money, and therefore when they get it they're extra stringent with what they get. We grew up with unfortunately parents who didn't know how to control their spend because they never learned how to, right? And so all of a sudden they had more money, and so they spent more money.
Yeah.
And that same sort of disease, as it is, came to me, right? My brother is almost the exact opposite, because his entire life that he can remember, they were in a better position, even if they were spendthrifts, and like he didn't see that because of his age. He's also naturally better with his money, right? Like he's had some good keen advantages in life, which is wonderful. Like I'm happy for him, but like we are 8 years different or apart, and we couldn't be more different, even though we're very alike and different in other ways, like in this financial sense, because by the time I was making my mistakes he was learning from them, right?
Sure.
And so you know, I've said this before on videos, but around the time period that Tarkir came out, I was sleeping on a couch. Like I went to law school, and I was sleeping on the couch that I furnished of my brother's apartment, so that I just had a place to stay, because otherwise I wasn't going to make enough money doing what I was doing to also have to pay for debts and life and the car note and everything else, right? And so I did that for like 3 years, and just enough to, and I was grateful. I remember having that conversation with somebody that they were like, you know, why do you say you're grateful? I was like, are you kidding me? Like I could be homeless, like actually homeless right now if I didn't have this, right? And so when you take in that kind of understanding of, I don't want to say place, but where you come from or where you are, right? And sort of what the mistakes that you've made and what that's done to you, and what you're going to have to dig yourself out of, and you marry that to what you're capable of, right? And that shoulder to wheel kind of part of things. Mine just being that, and I've said this a lot of times, like I will just outwork you, right? Like I am not always going to be the smartest person or the most clever, certainly not the most intelligent person in every room that I'm ever in, but I will just outwork you, whatever that cost may be. And usually it's for me just sleep, right? But like I will just keep doing the thing that you refuse to keep doing, and at some point that's going to be my breakthrough over the person that I was, you know, in theoretic competition with. This bulk stuff, even at the margins and certainly at the scale that I'm talking about, the things that I'm doing, hell, the things that you're doing, it's not for everybody. I have like I've developed a team effectively, right? Like not, I'm using that word stringently for the IRS, but it's a team. And I have a sifter, I have a sorter, I have a bulk partner who helps, you know, with conditioning and working on deals and things like that, and she gets a benefit. They all get a benefit along the path, but like so I sift about half of the inventory that we go through. I sort none of it, because that's where these things go in place. But that's also why I'm keen on getting machines, because not that in fact I want to turn the operating machines of like the Roka Sifter or the Source of Mini or the Fizzbatch or whatever the machine that is for me in the end, into, okay, these people who are doing these functions are now better enabled and empowered, because it's a lot of work to sift through for the value, right? Like it's a ton of work. And
Yeah, that's real quick. That's another reason why I went to list everything out, is because with the limited time that I had, the amount of time I was spending to sift to then just like if my hands are already on the cards, and now that there's things like card uploader and all these AI things, it's like just and honestly, I didn't talk about this before. My idea now, which I think I'm going to do, is I don't know what the number is. It could be $250,000. It could be 500,000. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to list everything until I get to like nuclear number, and then once I get to that number, even if there's playable stuff in there, just bloop, red button, liquidate it all. Then just like a D-Day kind of thing. Let's just keep riding. Once we get to the top of the mountain. We got enough. We eked out enough of what we could in the time that we had. The faster that I can get the stuff listed, like you said, if I have to sacrifice a little bit of sleep, I'm going to outwork anybody else, and it's like melding both worlds. I get to do what I want, which is list everything, and I can churn the velocity to which I can churn through these things is completely dependent on the time, work, and effort that I put in, and that in itself is such a good feeling when I list last weekend, I listed 30,000 cards on Tcgplayer, and I felt good about myself. And if I can do that every weekend, every other weekend, especially being on direct, yes. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but it's like I don't know what it is about the way you talk, or maybe it's your skills you acquired, getting your $1 million worth of school debt. But you have a very good way of putting words together that really just like a Harry Potter, just take out that's the thought I had. That's exactly how I was trying to think of it or say it. And then you just put it into a really good words. So sorry, continue, please.
No, you're fine. It's funny. The Harry Potter piece. My son is in school. They started school very early at his school, and they did a sorting thing where they have houses within the school, and a little bit of a parlor trick because my understanding, and so we did this. Whatever color you sent him in or them in is the color of the house that they were going to be sorted into, and he was absolutely determined to be in the blue house because that's his favorite color. But he wore red socks, and I was like, buddy, you technically, he was blue glasses, blue shirt, blue pants, blue everything, right? And he had red socks. I was like, why? He was like, well, just in case. I was like, okay, fair enough.
Did he say it like that too?
Oh yeah.
That's baller status right there, dude. That's funny.
So because that happened today, we were watching Harry Potter. So I got a little bit more. My wife loves Harry Potter. I will tell you, it is beyond me. I've never understood the movies all that well. They're okay, right? I didn't read the books. The movies are just fine. It never felt like it was for me. But I am enjoying watching them through their eyes and seeing the joy that they have. And to call back from 30 minutes ago, probably, but you mentioned the cross the streams. This is just a funny anecdote about me and more about my wife. We were in Italy. It's where I proposed to her, and we were at the Colosseum, and she gets a lot of movie references, which is probably the only reason the two of us are married, because that's basically how I talk. And we're at the Colosseum, and the guide who we paid for to take us around, he goes, when we get in there, there's gonna be a person that asks you a question, just say yes. That's all we had to do. We get to this place, and effectively it was there's an elevator right there that you can get to the top of the thing, and if you don't say yes, you have to walk a bunch of stairs to get there or whatever. And she was there, and there are only a few reasons that you can get to use the elevator. You're in a wheelchair or elderly or whatever, or if you're pregnant. And so the question basically was, are you pregnant? And she goes, oh no. And me and the tour guide looked at him, and I just turned to her and said, if somebody asks if you're a god, you say yes. What are you talking about? Why are we not in an elevator right now? Yeah. But this is one of those times where you're talking. It's interesting your note of whether it be 250,000 cards or 500,000 cards, and pick a number, whatever that number is for you. That number is literally every month for me. I have a goal of X number, right? So That's my. But if you're over, what'll be interesting for you is if you hold to that pattern, it's this interesting fight between where you want to list everything and get the value out of everything, because as things decrement from sales, you're closer to your goal, right?
Yeah.
Like your personal goal. But as you increase the volume and velocity of buying, you're getting closer to the other goal. And so it sort of incentivizes you on both ends to buy more through the selling, the act of selling, and how quickly can you buy versus how quickly can you sell now. And so you've created a fun little challenge actually
Oh
here
yeah,
for yourself.
I'm excited for it. I meant to mention that when we were talking before, but the more and more I was thinking about it, I was like, it's if it doesn't work out, I can just liquidate it all. You know, that's the fun thing, man. It's like the whole reason why I did this is because I get to be my own boss, and I hope whether it's a side hustle for any whoever it is that's watching this, it's an hour in. There's probably a slight chosen few that I appreciate very much, but I wanted to do this because I want to be my own boss. That's half the reason why I hate my job, is because I got to listen to a bunch of clowns that don't know what the hell they're talking about, tell me to do things that I know is wrong, but I have to do it. And then I get to let them eat crap because they're wrong. If I wanted to try this for, say, from now until December, I'm pretty confident I can get to 250,000 cards listed by the end of the year. And then if it doesn't work out, then guess what? I get to liquidate it for another 10 grand and we get to start all over again. And the worst case that happens is things are a little slow growing for the next 4 or 5 months. But, you know, there's Cyber Weekend's coming. You know, the summer slowdown's probably going to start kind of, you know, freezing up as we get a little colder and kids are back in school now. So things will start kind of moving and getting their wheels greased. You know, there's... It's equally exhilarating and terrifying with the freedom that you have when you're doing what you want. And the only thing really that gets in your way is the comparison to others and the potential lack of conviction in what you set out to do.
Yeah, the comparisons, the thief of joy is a really big thing in this space specifically because of how vocal so many of us are on YouTube, where we can literally see sometimes daily journeys of something, right? And
chief example, I'm an ugly chud and you are a beautiful beast. And I try not to compare myself daily when I see you come across my feed, but
oh man,
you know, it happened. No, I'm joking. It's
that is wild. That is, I mean, so much going on there. You were not an ugly chud. Let's start there.
yeah.
You know, I think the best of this space is that it is a very welcoming space, absent the one dickhead from January. It is a very open space. There's not really, like, it's almost like, even though we're theoretically all competing against each other for either for the same inventory or the same eyeballs or the same sales or whatever you may, like, the amount of willingness to help each other out, knowing, going back to that scarcity versus abundance mindset of like, there's going to be somebody. We talked in the pre-game about how I am adamant, probably to my own detriment. Now, I have not listed a damn thing on eBay because I'm so busy with the wholesale side of things that I've more or less convinced myself that that stuff, that the kind of what you said before about the bulk, right? I'm doing it on a higher end inventory. It's on SIRs and ARs and IRs and whatever. It's all this higher end inventory that, like, I'm just sitting on and would be great for an eBay store. But I use it as trade fodder for more bulk, right? Like, and that does work. But I also look at it and go, like, it's not going to make my heart happy right now, because the thing I dislike the most is actually I'm really good now at the pulling, like, from the inventory, because it's probably much like yourself. The inventory that I have for Tcgplayer is all alpha and set sorted, right? But what I've done is, instead of the methodology you have on the list, everything, I went from like 300 SKUs in like April down to like 180 in May, down to 50 in June, and now as of the end of July, I'm down to 25. I only carry on the non-hollows 25 of the same type of cards. Now I have leftovers of inventory. I'm not just nuking, but the whole idea was these are the 25 most liquid cards from a playable standpoint, and I'm just going to pour everything into getting those cards moving because it is
Solid idea.
easier.
Yeah.
Is easier to pack, to know where things are, to be able to train on. These are the 25 SKUs to look for when you're sifting. These are the 25 SKUs to pull from. So when I get an order for, I think there was one the other day for like 100 lilies or something, and it was like, great, go to the lily section and pull out 100. And but it's not like I'm where's the lilies, right? Like my entire inventory for TCG player is like 20,000 cards. It fits inside of the 4 5-row boxes, but it's 25 SKUs basically. Now again, if you look at my TCG store, it's going to be more than that because I have things that are lingering that I just kind of killed, but like
Sure.
I'm not adding to those SKUs anymore. And the sales velocity would say that there's no reason to, right? Like I use ChatGPT, well, I use Claude technically. I use Claude pretty much daily as like a business partner, right? Like as somebody who I can bounce the finances off of and come up with, this is what I've sold, this is what I have in inventory, tell me what I should do with this inventory, how if this is my buyer's price, how long does it not make sense to sit on before it's just literally taking up air, and kind of where those thresholds, and it came to an interesting conclusion over a period of months with more data of like, get all the playables from Limitless TCG. Great. These are the ones that are moving. You should keep this. Then it literally was just necking down further and further down to, I know what 25 are moving, and I don't like. I could tell it to pick out the top 40. I think I tell it to pick out the top 50, and then I said, give me the half of that, and I think I ended up with there's the A through Z sorting trace that BCW makes. I was like, that's 26 slots. So literally, what I said to in my head was, I'm going to take no more than 25. And the 26 is going to be the wild card. It's going to be the new sets special card that's going to, whatever. And that's how I'm going to operate in the space, is that I will, the wild card space will always be, what is the newest sets thing that you have to grab, special red cards or whatever else, right? And I just want to keep doing that. Now, I don't have any other games on there. I could list Magic. I haven't. I am dabbling with One Piece, but that's mostly because I have a very large One Piece component on my server, and we are now taking One Piece bulk. I actually hate it because
I do too. I hate it.
It brings me no joy. I'm not a One Piece watcher. I don't. The cards are quality, right? The cards stock is quality. The art is quality. Like even the commons look like holy shit. Like what this would be a full art in most other TCGs, right? It's nice, except for when you're trying to do bulk and you're like, I gotta read this little itty bitty C that you can't.
It's the same reason I hate Yu-Gi-Oh! Bulk. The fact that it's like this 8-digit security code that is like melded into the fabric of the color of the background. Mm-hmm. It's like, come on, guys, you can't have like a little dragon or like little Joey with his hair, as a set symbol, please. Like, come on. Yeah. Actually, and it's like Magic, where you have literally 80 copies of. Dark Magician. So it's like, okay, ENC, DAR, DAR with an asterisk. And then that makes it even harder for,
no, I got you.
Magic symbols.
Pokemon is much easier for this. Ironically, it's also much harder for all these scanning softwares because they'll copy the same damn art. I think there's like 5 versions of a Leafeon art or 5 versions of a card that all have the same art for Leafeon. It's like, no.
Twilight Masquerade, Prismatic Evolutions.
Yep.
One of the Cosmos Hollows is the same art. It's miserable.
Yeah, it's well, this came up in OP. I sold I can't remember what it was. It was some sort of rare or whatever. And I was looking it up, and the difference between card A and card B, which apparently was just literally reprints, was one was like $15 and one was like $1, right? And it was like
Arvin, the trainer Arvin. That was the Obsidian Flames version was like $3.54 at its peak, and the Scarlet Violet base one was $1.20 for no other reason than it was from a different set. And that happens all the time.
Well, I had to like click on both of these images on TCGplayer, and I was just like, what is the difference? And it turns out on the card, and I don't have one on me, but let's just say this is where the symbol would be. There
Sure.
was like a little star above the set number on the OP card, and it was like that was literally the only difference between these two cards. If you didn't notice that star was the difference, you could theoretically have been like, oh sweet, I got a $14 card. And it was like, nope, no you do not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Magic Jumpstart sets, they do that too. There are Jumpstart cards where they're two different set numbers, but it's the same exact art and it's the same exact artist. It's just like coded different. And thankfully, most people don't complain because it's the same card and who cares. I've even done that with some trainers. I even on the RI I just packed. Or not the RI. I did a video about like a 400 card order I did of all these playable cards, and I was what was it? I was short. One Team Rocket's Watchtower, and I was like, it was the Ascended Heroes copy, and I was like,
it's in the DR one.
All right, let's look up Destined Rivals and see if I've got 5 left. Ching, take one off. They'll never notice. Like, what are you gonna do? If they do, hey, I'll refund you the 15 cents. But it's.
I'm glad to actually hear that from you because I have gotten
all the time.
Well,
that's why I like having a backlog. Half the time I have a backlog. It's like if I have ghost inventory or I screw up an order, it's like, well, I got a 5 road. I can just go find the card. Or the number of times I've broken up a master set for a reverse hollow 151 card. It's like, oh, well, I got one in the bank. Let's just take this out and wait until we get it into the next 5 row we sift through. Yeah, it's.
I do well. So this goes back to like the sheer number of volume. So like, I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of inventory listed, right? Certainly by comparison, and I don't have many. Well, go back to the SKUs. I don't have many SKUs, so it's extra aggravating when it's like, how do I not have this one effing card, right? Like, and I only have 25 things that I'm looking for. Like, what do you mean I don't have one of these? And so, I was really up a creek here with no paddle. Like 3 weeks ago, I had oversold something, and I just like that night sent off all like 2 5-row boxes to be sorted for all the extra stuff that had been sifted.
So long, Lifeline.
It was like all that stuff that I could have literally. Then I would have gone through the box and found the one type of card because I'm sure it's in there, and it was like, oh.
Sometimes, dude, there's so many bombs. Like sometimes I'll flip through cards, and I'll get close to like the next card, and I'm like, crap, this isn't here, and I can feel like a movie. It's just like a slow zoom in as I'm slowly going through, and finally I just find it, or I don't find it, but then I have to take out the brick, knowing that it's probably just missorted with 5 or 10 cards deep into the next one, and it's like the sigh of relief that when you find it, it is a good feeling. It's like, oof. Yeah. Oof. It's like, I know it's a message in a 15-cent card, but it's like I don't want to tell someone that I don't have this card. I got 80,000 cards and the one they ordered is the one that's not there. Yeah. Oh, it's a feel bad moment, man. That's the worst.
I don't love that. I remember early on, even though I had done the whole work of getting it alpha and set sorted and everything, I still think maybe I just grabbed wrong, or when I put them into the bins, I did it wrong. But I sent somebody who was looking for Ascended Night Stretchers a bunch of Shrouded Fable ones, and then later I got a bunch of Shrouded Fable ones, and I was like, "Where are all my Shrouded Fable?" Like, I clearly just put these through. Or like, what? And I kind of clicked on what this was. I was like, "No," I just because it's a lot harder to obviously find the Shrouded Fable ones now, right? Or at least it was for me. But I do basically try and operate that the volume is going to be my way out of most of my problems, right? So today we took in.
My buddy Teal has a saying. He says accuracy through what is it? Accuracy through like a machine gun. It's like you're gonna hit it eventually. So if you're just pushing and selling a mass amount of cards, it's gonna be pretty hard to miss. You're gonna be able to figure out a way out. You know.
Actually. We were talking about the podcast that you're on with the 3 other gentlemen.
The Coffee and Cardboard Show. You should go check it out.
You should. It's very good. Th- he's always underneath you on the screen.
Teal
I cannot.
Gaming, or wait, the new guy Anik.
Yeah, Anik.
Yeah,
He had something that really, I think it was from this last stream that really caught my attention, which was like how to sort of cheat code around um, TC or Direct, which is basically like put it at a penny, but charge $20 shipping,
yeah.
and then if they want to buy for market value but pay $20 in shipping, then who cares, right? Like, and then Direct will take care of itself because it's got the minimum floor requirement, right? I
Yep.
found that an interesting play of like how can you use their own system in a way that creates the velocity on the market space versus Direct as well.
Well, that's more. I do that to a certain extent, but like the amount of people that are going to pay, because you know how TCGplayer works. If you have $20 in shipping, you're getting pushed to the end. But the one person that does it, if they know they can buy 500 cards for a penny but pay $20 shipping, it's going to end up. It's basically to force Direct's hand to fulfill all your orders, and then if someone wants to really pay up, then you know. Now, I tend to. I kind of go back and forth. Like I basically do all my work days. I have it set direct low floor, and then I set my shipping to like $4.99. And then on my days off, I'll 15 cents free over $5. I have the time to pack a few extra orders. Let's get a
Right.
little. Let's get a little
wild.
velocity in here, and then once I get to a certain point, it's like, okay, that's enough. I'm done. Because I still like packing orders. I like making my little handwritten notes. I like putting cards in sleeves. I like making my thing all look nice, and every now and then when I get a little like, oh my god, this is the best packaging ever. It's like, goddamn right. It's
Do you are you are you a card saver or not card saver? Oh man,
yeah, the cardboard things.
Yeah. Shit, I use them all the time. I was just
I can't think of the names. Yeah, it's
it's his name is Greg. I can literally look at
Yeah.
up his name. Shipping Shield. Are you a Shipping Shield user?
no.
Okay.
I'm admittedly bougie when it comes to my shipping because I want it to feel like a premium experience. So it's I have my little contraption right here. It's sleeve, card. I then take these little tiny little post-it note things and I slap that sucker right on the back. Whoop. So that way you don't have to fight and dig out your card. Into the top loader it goes. So now you can just go plop and then into the team bag. Just like that. Fold it
What do you
over,
do- What
done.
do you do for like a 12 or 20 card order?
So I do up to 11 cards like this. I'll put 2 cards back to back and then 11 cards, and that's like the most you can do as one. If it's 22 cards, then I do one here and then one here, and it's still bendable enough. There's some post offices that will get really cranky with you, but the one I go to, which is 20 minutes away, they got it on lock, so I do that. For 30 cards, I will take all 10 cards and I will just like kind of do this. I'll just kind of bundle them up. And then I'll just tape it over really tight and fold it over and then like put a label on it. And then I'll stick them 1, 2, 3. And then I'll adhere them. That way it's still bendable. And that is still 30 is still under the threshold for a flat rate. So you can still sneak it in under 3 ounces. And I'll do that up to 60 cards. So I'll do 20 cards in each stack. And it's technically still a flat rate because it's for a flat rate for USPS, it's got to be under 13 ounces. It has to be uniform in size and it has to be bendable, like within a certain like quarter inch, and it can't be no more than 3/4 of an inch thick, I believe is the threshold. So as long as all 4 of those requirements are met, it can go as a large flat rate, which is usually still cheaper than a bubble mailer.
Right.
The problem you get to is that even though those are the rules and it is on every paper, because I asked for them, they gave me a paper of all the dimensions and everything. I will still go to post office. I have one literally 30 seconds next door to my apartment, and I can't go to them because they don't. this isn't machinable. Like, it is machinable. I'm at the 16,000 orders. It is. I have to drive 25 minutes to the post office I used to go to because they're not morons. So, you know, and even on the shipping video that I did where I show how I do it all, every now and then someone will comment, oh, my post office rejected it. I'm like, I'm sorry, they shouldn't, because it's on the piece of paper that says it's exactly how it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, you're going to have to drive around and find a bunch of people who are not silly, and they'll let you do what you got to do. But
so I have found recently two things. One, Shipping Shield makes a kind of like the eBay standard envelope version or TCGplayer where they have like, you can fit three, what you've done with a team bag, you can fit three kind of columns into one thing. It is up my capability tenfold. So I will shill here for them because they've just done a phenomenal job with that product. But I am a big believer in, you know, putting as many cards as you can to the thing. Don't overstress yourself.
Those pennies add up, man.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes it's literally the entire margin, right? Like, and
yeah, especially now what they just increased shipping again from like, you know, 74 cents, like 78, 79 cents. The minimum bubble mailer now is almost $6. So, and I'll one up you. If I get an order of 100, it has to be 121 cards for me to put it in a bubble mailer. I will do order 1 of 2 and then order 2 of 2, and I'll do 60 in each. And doing it that way is like 50 to 60 cents cheaper.
Oh yeah, no. So,
but it's still cheaper.
Unless it's a sheer convenience thing, like I don't have the time or the capability to care about this right now.
Yeah.
Then I will do the same, right? Like basically up to the 120. There is a place, I want to say the last big order was this past week was like 250 bosses orders, and I don't know what the other one, 150 lilies or something. So like 400 cards. Took me all of 5 minutes to pick, and I was like, I'm just throwing this shit in the bubble mailer. Right? Like it was like $100 order. I'll spend the $6 to throw this in the bubble mailer and be done.
Yeah, because at that point, the time that you spend, you know, is probably going to be more. You know, I would agree with that.
But also, like between the ding defenders, the large bags that I use to push everything before I put it in the bubble mailer, there is a satisfaction at a certain level when it's kind of that really where it's like a really big brick of cards where it's like, man, this feels good, right? Like it does. I would rather sell 10 of those, right, than 100 orders.
Me and a buddy were joking around that it's like, for us, it's like the couponer, like the couponer that like just has their book of millions of coupons. It's like they have to feel so good when they walk out of a grocery store with $300 groceries, $300 for the groceries, and they spent $5. When I get it wedged in there, and I literally, like, by the only thing holding me back is the law of physics itself to contain this stuff, a little bit of tape to reinforce, and it's good. It's like chef's kiss. This is art. It is art to shove 60 cards in an envelope and they not be damaged. The number of compliments I've gotten where it's like, I was worried, but I've gotten orders with 5 cards and they came in just a sleeve with no top loader, and this MFer just shipped me 120 cards in 2 plain white envelopes, and it is the best packed order I've ever had in my life. And it's like, yes.
There you go. So
yes,
I'm curious on your lived experience in the last couple of weeks. I've had more orders go missing, more orders be returned for postage, which again, I've never had this problem. And I don't want my reviews have no complaints, but where people are messaging me about like, oh, this hasn't come yet, and then it's like it's taking forever to get
a lot. Thankfully, most of the people, when my template for that is usually like, hey, first of all, I appreciate your order, greatly appreciated. Unfortunately, USPS likes to take their sweet time, and you're not the first person to say something, you know, I shipped it out the day after it was marked. Unfortunately, they take their sweet time. It is past the ETA date, but I would ask to give it an extra day or two, because typically it's going to show up within a day or two. And 99% of them say that's fine. And then literally 2 days later, they go, yep, it showed up. Sorry to bother you. And it's good. 1% will be like, no, it's past the date. And it's like, fine, I'll refund you and I'll block you. And that's it. Because, The only time I'll fight those orders if it's like $17 or $18 or something, like right on that cusp where like that $20 limit is. But if it's a $3 or $4 order, I'm not. I'd rather just cancel, move on, never sell to you again, and and you know what's funny about that too is I have this conversation with people a lot when they say they had a refund an order and they lost $3. This is very much this is like a weird fallacy. It's like a gambler's fallacy. Since you're a movie person, I'm sure you have seen the movie Casino before. And in the movie Casino, they have this big whale come in and he walks away with like $2 million. And they say, no, we're going to bring you back. And this guy usually bets whatever it was, 30 grand, 50 grand a hand. And instead of betting that, when he comes back, he wants to hold on to his money. So he starts betting really small, like $10,000 bets. And what happens is when these people start to win, they don't see it as winning $10,000. They see it as losing $40,000 because they would normally be spending the money that they would. So then they increase the money that they spend, end up dumping all their money plus some back, and then you end up losing. You're losing $3 in revenue, but what you're really losing is just the cost of the cards and the cost of the materials, which is not as nearly as much as what the order value is. So a lot of people start to think they're losing a lot more money than they actually are. Not to say that they're not, and not to say that it doesn't suck to lose money, but you have to keep that in mind because I hear people say that all the time. It's like, I lost $50, yes, but you really only lost like 10, which still sucks, but
Yeah, it's not 50.
Yeah.
No, 100%. It's a good note to if you're literally counting the pennies of, even though I know sometimes literally there's the penny is the margin in some deals, but if you're literally counting your pennies, this going back to part of the previous comment, this may not be for you because if you're that worried about I'll never make this back or how far this is heading, brother, you are going to lose a lot more money in that worry. There was a DJ from DJ's Poke Center got a charge back on an Evolving Skies, right? Like I guarantee you didn't have a worse day than that, right? And I think that's the challenge that I see. If you want to run a business in the space, you have to be willing to know who you are, like personally, what your capability is. I've used the phrase a couple times now, putting shoulder to wheel, because it will not be easy. There will be things that you suck at. You just do. Like, I don't care who you are. There are things I suck at. And I don't feel comfortable with eBay, right? Like, just bluntly, I personally do not feel comfortable with eBay. TCGplayer actually is. I know there was a whole, like 3 weeks ago, a big let's all dump on TCG.
The revolt.
Right. And I get it, right? Like there were definitely things in there that you would aim to improve. But all that being said, I still think it's a wonderful platform, especially for people who are beginning. And even though I wouldn't consider myself a beginner at this point, it is a functionally easier platform to master. And the eBay, for whatever reason, feels like I need to take a driver's ed test every time I'm going onto it, right? And it's just like I know how to drive, right? Like, so why do I have to do this every single time?
No, that's true, because it's like TCGplayer, eBay, like then you get into like your Sort Swifts and your like it's like the higher up you go, it's like the more options that branch off, and that's half the reason why I never went on eBay. Half the reason why I never did is I just like being able to go. Boop, all my cards listed, done. No pictures, no nothing.
You've used Card Uploader now. I don't think there's anything wrong with these things, but it's just my personal affliction and stupidity has just been like, I want to, and the but is, if I'm being honest with myself, I'm making the excuse of I don't need to list because I'm doing so much in the wholesale side, right? But there's a reality that I could be earning more money by listing the cards that are valuable to the extent that they are and gaining the value from that listing. On the flip side of this, because
I'm not even talking about just eBay. I use it mostly for TCGplayer. If I have a 5-row of bulk, I can list that whole 5-row in probably like 35 minutes. I just 500 cards, combine them all, CSV, boom. 500 cards, boom. Boom,
so
boom.
You wouldn't just do a CSV, because
that's what I do.
No, but I'm saying without going through the card uploader piece.
Well, how would you do a CSV without having to like manually count them?
So I have a card counter, so that's part of this.
Yeah, this is I don't have a card counter, so it's just you know, with the technology that I have, it's just
That's fair.
yeah,
That's
500
fair.
card, but like it's fast. It's fast enough. If I can kill a 45 row in 30 to 40 minutes, I'm good. You know,
I just, I'm curious. I know your aversion to chaos sorting, kind of regardless, but and I get its challenge with direct,
yeah,
but could you actually, like, instead of me using the sorter, the person that does the sorting for me,
sure.
I could in theory use just a chaos and throw it in the machine and be like, there are 500 lilies in 1,000 places, right? The reason I haven't done that is it
Are you
just
talking
sounds,
like you're talking about for direct specifically?
no, well, I'm
Because
talking about
the direct it wouldn't work just because of the way the pull sheet is. Because like, and until the day SortSwift or other companies that do that have the API access to TCGplayer, the only way the pull list comes is in set order, like
so
chronological set order.
my understanding of these systems is they have a pull sheet option
For
that
direct?
is, well, for TCG player that you could then apply to direct.
Well, that's what I'm saying is the only option for direct is you get the cards in set order. So if you have it in chaos, because with like SortSwift and other places, when they give you the pick list, they give you the pick list of the cards in order where they are. You know, A1, A4, A7, A10, da 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 da. Because it's not linked up with a thing like that, you have to go by the TCG player pick list. In which case, they're everywhere. So you're going to be going to A1, G7, H3 because all four of those copies of Blessed Alliance, they're going to be in all four different places, but they're going to show up on the list in the same spot. So it's direct is not, it's until they do other stuff with other companies or have people have API access. Chaos is going to be that's unaliving territory to do chaos sorting with direct.
So the reason I ask is because obviously I'm not on direct and I may never be, but when I was thinking about this the other day, Loomis was talking about how you spend the time on the front end. I spend the time on the front end to get all of it, sorted in that capacity. He does it all on the back end, right? And grabs it through the chaos strategy. And I was like, yeah, but I have so few SKUs, right? Like it almost feels like for me, it doesn't make sense when you only are really focusing on 25 cards in the first place. If I, if I had 5,000 of SKUs, then maybe I would consider it. But like right now, it just feels like I don't need to do that when
for what you are doing, chaos wouldn't. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but for like the eBay stuff, it would make sense to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, I've even thought about like right now I've got about 7,000 total cards. I have about 2,000 listings, and I've even, as we were talking a little bit before, I thought about just leaving that box the way it is. There's nothing wrong with that, but now just starting like chaos going forward, so I don't have to deal with condition issues. I can just do, I can condition them, but I can have, there's so many ways to do things. It can be so overwhelming, but it's fun at the same time. It's great. It's great.
So I'm curious if you'd be willing, and if you can't on the spot, because I'm throwing this out on the spot, is there something that you would like to challenge either yourself or me with? Hey, and it could be anything from this conversation or any other conversation or thing that you've seen in the past. Like you could challenge yourself, or you could challenge me to go do something. Hey Ron, get off your ass and do X. Right? Like, what would that kind of look like for you?
I've already got an idea in the works, and I would be willing to see if you want to do it with me. I don't know what weekend it is yet. I'm going to pick a day. I'm going to do a 12-hour stream, and my goal is to chaos sort as many cards as I can in 12 hours. I'm going to do 100 card batches, and I'm going to I'm going to marathon it, and we're going to see, okay, if I have 12 hours where I'm doing nothing but this, how many listings can I do? And I would like to try to do 10,000. I want to try to do 10,000 listings in a day. I don't care what the card is.
Okay, so I have to play nice with the fact that I got a family. Can we do it over a weekend's time period, and whoever ends up with the most wins?
10 hours or 12 hours in general. So if
Okay.
whether you have to do a split over 4 days,
Okay.
you know, and chronicle it for the channel, you know, like do a little like you know, whatever. So I'll, you know, I was actually talking to the Nate guy, the whatever the guy's name, Pokemon Chris Steven, Pokemon whatever. I was like, you know, I just finally got my affiliate code set up, and I was like, hey, I got this kind of idea. I think about just like live streaming, just like this marathon where I try to literally just list. He's like, dude, yes, that sounds excellent. So
do you use card uploader's inventory?
No, I use all my scans.
No, I'm sorry. Do you use their inventory management system?
Nope.
No.
I specifically use it just to scan and like scan and identify for TCGplayer is miserable. Okay. So I strictly use TCGplayer to upload, make sure everything's correct, and then just get the CSV to put wherever. So I just upload them all to eBay.
I'll make a plug because you know what? If I'm going to do this, and I'll probably be personally miserable at this. Like it will probably bring me no joy.
Let's go. I'll put a link into the description. I don't care. Let's go.
Let's test out Loomis's system together on that. So he's got an inventory management system.
I don't know if I want to do their system. Well, how about this? This would be interesting. Okay. You've been using Loomis Live. Everyone who doesn't know, Loomis Card Craze, excellent channel. You should go check him out. He has his own, from what I hear, amazing software. I will use Card Uploader.
Okay.
You will use Loomis Live. And given a 12-hour dedicated time of over 4 days or 1 day,
right?
You know, will it mean that one is the best? No, but it will give a solid take on using two different platforms, how 12 hours of time can equal X number of listings when you really just kind of put the metal to the floor.
I just put him in a bad position, so I'm gonna tell him, hey, listen, you gotta get it right for me. I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's great.
We'll coordinate. We'll figure out. I'll say like, hey, this is the day I'm doing my stream. That way you can kind of figure out in a 2-week time, and then we can, you know, we'll do a retro mic TCGplayer versus eBay kind of thing where we just do, you know. Loomis versus Card Uploader. How fast? If you really, when you say you have no time, that's bullshit. You got 12 hours. This is how many cards you can do here. This is how many listings you can do there. There ain't no excuse. And then like, bam, done. I think I like it a lot.
It could be good content too. Yeah, I think that's great. I think you've already sort of created sort of the challenge I would have created for you anyway, Ray, which is the pick a number, and when you get to that magic number, liquidate and see. My belief, because this is where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah.
My belief is the sense of overwhelming relief will be there, because I actually think not only will you feel the relief, but I think you'll enjoy the journey of building it back up again.
Yeah. I will.
Because at that point,
I am now.
Right. So I think that's part of this. And it, you know, it's very pokey focused and things like that. The only other thing that I would say is, you know, it's not about how much revenue you got out with whoever you wholesale with, right? It's not, right? Like you work with somebody that has a good deal for you, that you trust, you're comfortable with, whatever. And maybe that is the best deal. I have no idea. Because, you know, I would say earlier I mentioned the fact that it's a very open space. One of the things that doesn't get discussed very openly is who your bulk buyer is, because that can feel like a limiting factor, right?
Yeah.
But I do know that there have been others who have come to me with, hey, do you know this person? And would you, if you do, could you vouch for them or recommend them? And I always do that. Like if somebody already has made contacts and they're like, hey, do you know this person? I'm like, yeah, you can trust to use them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for you, I think you'll hit that number. Well, if it has to be strictly Pokemon, because I know you do a lot of Magic. If it has to be strictly Pokemon, I think it depends on how quickly you're buying now. That velocity really matters on the buy side just as much.
I want to try to get to then the challenge would be is to get to 500,000 cards by the end of the year.
Oh, you could do that easily.
It's going to happen easily now because I got some work to do. But that's the challenge, right? That's the fun of a challenge. So we're going to try to get to 500,000 cards, combined, listed, or just have 500,000 cards. Get as much of it listed as possible, sold as possible, and then January 1st, when we fire off the streamers for New Year's, I'll find whatever bulk buyer there is around here and say, I'll take 20 grand, daddy, or whoever. And then, start off the year. Because I've already picked the beginning of the year. That's when I'm going to start my LLC. That's when I'm going to get a lot of official things. I've got a few bills that I've had out that I'm trying to, I don't want the veil to be pierced. So that way I have all these cards. That's all this is for. This is all separate now. And I've kind of picked that to, this is where phase 2 starts. The end of this year is just getting all these other little things tidy up. The few little leveraging things I've been doing, those will be zeroed out by the end of the year as I constantly flip through that. And then when January comes, bulk out, do whatever, have 10, 20, 30 grand, whatever it is. And then that starts the phoenix rising from the ashes. And then we just born again into something new, and then we just keep on cranking.
I think that's awesome. I think that's a good challenge for you, and paired up with this simultaneous challenge for the two of us. I think it will add some fuel to the fire for sure. But I'm looking forward to it.
I'll challenge you.
Okay.
I will challenge you. So you have 25 SKUs of the popular trainers. I'm trying to think of a good number here. If you have 4 or 5 rows, I would say I would like to see you try to get to, I'll say 50,000 as a hefty number, but I feel like between playables, popular Pokemon, I think 50,000 would be a nice round number to have as an active inventory for a TCG player.
Okay.
Hollow rares, reverse hollows, because when you're doing master sets, those things are usually the things that are bought 9 times out of 10. Okay. So, you can do the math probably. You could probably figure out of all the Sword and Shield sets, 20 of each, 10 of each.
So I just have to hit 50, right? Like it doesn't...
As close to 50 as possible.
Okay.
You don't have to go over 50 because you're obviously, the more you get on there, the more you're going to be cranking through. So,
well, it's
potentially.
It's going to give me a test. So you know Ivan because he was on your show here. And we were talking the other day. And he was driving me nuts. It was almost taunting me at this point. And he was showing me he's got $9.99 shipping right now. And he's selling 25-cent cards and with 9. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, how? So I've tested this for the last 24 hours and not a damn thing has sold, right? And I'm like, okay, fine. We'll just keep going. Right now, it's a good choke point so that I'm not being wiped out. It's also a good choke point so that I have time to do other things. For those of you who are still watching, and thank you very much for doing so, use shipping.
I'm putting a PSA in the beginning of this because I love I love all my episodes. I love all my guests. I love all my channels. This is probably one of my favorite times I've had talking to anybody. And I'm going to be putting a PSA that this is long, but it's like, this is probably the most different because most of the episodes have usually been just like question and answer. And this has been way more of just like two nerds just nerding out about cardboard. And I think when people see the 2-hour time frame, they're gonna be like, what the hell happened? And I want to make sure it's like, hey, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but if you want to watch something different and you want to watch not only me, but you especially, someone who's like truly passionate about this stuff, we get into some pretty I might even just clip this out and just shove it in the beginning and then run with it. Who knows? Just like the card hobby, there's plenty of ideas to go around. But yeah, anyway. For the 9th time that I've interrupted you, you continue.
You're the host. You're allowed to move the conversation as you wish. So I think if you're still watching this, there's a couple lessons I would take away if I was watching this still. One, there are no wrong ways to do this, right? There's different ways to do this. You and I do not operate in the same way, even though we operate in the same space. We are openly challenging to positively towards each other to say, how can we make this work? I'm gonna add to the challenge that you gave me.
Okay.
I'm going to work to get to that 50,000 number, but still within my limited SKU set. And all I'm going to add is more hollow and reverse hollow trainers, and because I don't even have that on my store, right? Like nothing of that. It's literally just commons and uncommons.
Do you ever go on Limitless?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. I built
limit your hollow rares and reverses to just deck stuff. So it doesn't have to be trainers. So it can be like your Alakazams from Mega Evolution, your Bayleafs, your those things. Those are the reverse hollows and hollows. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what I've started doing in the last week, I can't remember who I had. 2 weeks ago, I had the conversation with. I reached out to a bunch of people. I think Sam is Lewis, Pat from Hound Dog, Ivan, Chris, Phantom.
It just clicked that Loomis is Samuel backwards.
Yes.
Yeah, that's boom.
I wonder if anybody else. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Anyway, I had the conversation of, my bulk buyer pays Y for hollows and reverses, and I buy. Actually, what was interesting when I was talking with Ivan the other day, he was like, "Man, you buy at a pretty high rate. Like, what you pay is pretty high, right? Comparative." And I was like, "Well, yeah, because that buys me the access." And I'm looking at volume, right? Like that's my way in, is just sheer volume. Anyway, we're going through this part of the conversation, and everyone kind of came to the same conclusion, which is the way you operate, this makes more sense for you. You should do this because you should liquidate even all the hollows and reverses that you've built a large inventory, because I had planned to put those all on eBay and subsequently also on my site, because I viewed them as master setter heaven, right? Like, yeah. And so it's why I didn't give them at any point up until now. And same thing with like the EX cards, right? Like, now this is going to be the pain point. I have 2 weeks to sift through about 300,000 cards, that just to say like, what is the real gold still in here versus what's the stuff that I just should move. And so as a byproduct, on the like 150,000 cards we took in this week, I've been sifting through for the kind of gold of the hollows and reverses, because in the past all they did was count them, put them in a bucket kind of a thing in a 5-row, with the I'll get to it. Now I need it because I need to move the rest. Yeah. And with that in mind, I'm looking at going like, I want to challenge myself further to your 50K quest here, to say like, it's gonna be continue to be that playable methodology of like Ghidorahs that I've never listed, and the Alakazams, but it's going to
every evolution from Prismatic Evolutions. I mean, those will fly easily,
right? So I'm going to continue kind of where I am, but get to that increased volume, so that it'll add a little extra to this challenge. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
I'm already thinking of possibly like me doing it on like Labor Day weekend, of just doing it like on Sunday night, for me at least, and then you can within the 2 weeks of that, and then we can coordinate and post it on the same day. I think that'd be kind of cool.
That would help the storyline. It'll make it look clean. But yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I'm looking forward to. I mean, I have the machines, right? Like, I have the damn Rico. We'll go with Rico.
As my friend Mason from Cardinal Gaming said, you can have as many machines as you want, but you are the machine.
That only makes me think of, what is it, Brett Chrysler?
Yes.
I am the machine.
Yes.
But yes. But for those who are still watching, and I don't suspect many, but those who are, these are things that I take into my my big boy job, right?
Mm.
Um, and these are things that I have to remind myself of personally, and of especially my interactions with the people that I consider my team, right? Um, the first is that the best ability is availability. You can teach somebody anything, right?
Yeah,
Capability is much easier to grasp if you're willing to teach somebody. But in order to do that, you have to understand what it is and how it works in the first place to be a leader, frankly, right? To make sure as a business owner that you are going to get ahead, you better understand how every part of the ship works. Um, Now, that doesn't mean once you've kind of delegated and moved into the next segment that you have to understand how it may be improved beyond that. Then have to give people the rite of passage to improve upon what you've set out as a course so that they're not boxed into, well, he said I have to do it this way, so I will just rubber stamp it this way, right? Like the end result is the goal, not the path that gets you there. The SOP, as it were, the standard operating procedure, is the minimum viable way of doing it, but not the only way of doing it, as long as
sure.
the end goal is. The other nugget I give a lot of people is trust is given, respect is earned, both can be lost. And I think that's something that not enough people focus on when it comes to like deal making, right? And working with partners in general, whether it be your bulk buyers or your sellers that are working with you. Um, Today, I was reminded of that in a very unique fashion.
Yeah.
I now have two stores that I've signed up that the stores I'm their liquidator, right? They work with me to get product for the bulk that they take in and trade with their clientele. And this is new for me within the last month. This was the first drop. Was today with one of them. It was a very large drop, about 70,000 cards, and they got out of it about a little over $2,000 worth of trade value and sealed. Um, and that worked out for them. It worked out for me, and I know that in the past they've worked with another buyer, and the reason that they were willing and open to, even though they had done probably 2 years of business, it wasn't just that I had a better rate card. I did slightly, but like you can get over that if you have a better established relationship.
Sure.
My understanding is that they never felt he was professional enough about it. Kind of flaky, didn't show up on time. Oh, I can't come until tomorrow. Meanwhile, they've done all this work to get it ready and they want the products because that's how they're going to refuel their system. Um, so if this is going to be a business for you, be a professional about it, whatever that is. And I'm reminded the gentleman who I talked about earlier that with the CGC slabs, he was robbed a few months ago, about a month ago, really. And we're talking high end slabs, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because this was a high end vendor.
Yeah.
Uh, Robbed at gunpoint, horrible scene. A second one just happened in the same area. So this is clearly a targeting issue in that area of the country. And we were talking, and I was giving some advice and some offering some opportunity where I could within the space that I have. And something that came as a part of that conversation came to light. It was like, well, you know, I don't. He didn't think of himself as doing this full time. Like, I was like, or that this was his job, right? And so I asked him, after we were kind of done with the conversation, I said, "So what do you do for a living?" He said, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, you said that this isn't your job, the vending piece, right? Like, so how do you put food on the table?" And he was like, "Oh, well, this." So it's like, then this is your job, right? Like, so you need to start thinking of it like your job,
Yeah.
right? Because that's how you're going to get yourself back to where you were, right? Because unless you start thinking of it like a profession, you will treat it like a hobby, and you will never get further because it's not your job. And I know he's going to do great. Don't get me wrong, but I think he needed to hear that, like, this is not just something you do. This is who you are, because this is how you choose to spend a bulk of your time, and how you and where you get ahead in life with, right? He was dealing with the unfortunate realities of kind of an identity crisis of, this was all I had and this is what I've been building for, and like it was just all taken away from me. And yeah, like it would be akin to, and knock on wood, that this doesn't happen to any of us, but like all this shit going on fire, right? Like that would be, or you know, whatever else, all lightning strikes and everything goes away, right? But I think you needed to hear that. The other thing is, and especially if you're going to work with people, and I highly recommend that you do, if you can find it within the margin to work with people. One, it makes it more joyous. Two, it makes it a little easier. And three, you need to be prepared to give, when you're asking of somebody to do something, you're asking of them to be responsible for something. And one of the key things I tell, because I run a team of about 15 people, is if you're going to have the responsibility for something, you also have to have the authority to do whatever that is. So a lot of people end up with all the responsibility but no authority,
Right.
and so they're just being asked to
My
do
job.
yeah, right. And
Yeah.
they're just being asked to do this thing, but they're like, but I know there's a better way out there. Like let me do it my way. I promise you I will show you the results. And if I don't, then I'll go back to doing it your way, right? At the very least, that's one example.
Yeah. What do you have to lose in that situation?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
exactly.
And you know, sometimes I'll be like, listen, let's moderate that, right? Like, and that's in my particular position as a leader, that is my job, is to like give you room to run, but also help you slow down when I see the curve ahead going like, that's not going to work here because of this, but maybe if we did this other thing, whatever.
It's just like
right?
playing quarterback, you know, the best way to do it is hit a wide receivers, hitting them in stride, you know, give them the, don't aim for where they are, aim to where they're going. And,
Yes.
you know, when you have someone come over the middle, you don't want to set them up to get clocked in the face. So it's, you got to be very precise in your decision making to make sure you toe that line between making sure they feel good at what they're doing and that they are being listened to, while also not making them feel defeated and that every idea they have is a complete, you know, waste of time.
Well, so what you just said is the reason that what I tell my team, what I tell everybody else is, if you're going to have the responsibility to do something, you have to have the authority to do it. And the authority to do it also means that you therefore have the responsibility to say no. No, because it doesn't make sense. No, because there's a better way. No, because that's the wrong thing. Like it literally is just something wrong, illegal, or unethical, or immoral, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Like when you bring somebody in to your organization, your team, your empire, your business, whatever it may be, you cannot just be so stringent to think, one, there is only one way, and two, that you are absolutely so right as the business owner or operator that they shouldn't question you, or they shouldn't question the why or the how, right? Like that's how you're going to learn, because so much of this time and space is, I know how to do this, so I'm just going to do it myself. I'll do it right because I know how to do it my way. And what I'm saying is, if to those of you who are listening still, you will eventually need to level up at whatever that reason may be. And as a part of you leveling up, you need to think not just like an entrepreneur anymore, but like an owner, right? Like you have an owner or a leader is somebody who will take that next step with people and will make it so that they can take the steps thereafter. So I just think at the end of the day, you know, I know that a lot of us talk about building and scaling, and to be fair, some people, TJ from Pokepaster really talks about this a lot, where it's like, no, this is what I want. Like, I don't want to grow any more than this. I'm happy with where I'm at. Like, he may grow a little bit, but like, he's not looking, you're looking to be, what is it, Burbank or whatever that you've talked about?
Burbank Sports.
Burbank Sports.
Yeah.
In my dream world, maybe I'm like a card HQ, but I'm not there and I'm not anywhere close to it. Right. But I do think that if you're just starting out with your scanner and 500 cards and you're going, but this is where I want to be, great. But understand it, in order to get there, it isn't just cardboard anymore. It's also leadership. It's also being a good person. It's also being able to manage deal making and getting out of your comfort zone and making content and also making space for loved ones and time for yourself and eating and being healthy so that you don't die under a mountain of cardboard. Right? Like all of these things matter. And I know that we speak a lot about the how to sell, but I don't know that there's enough space given in this industry about like how to be in this, like just how to be, not just how to sell in this space. It is a very uplifting community. there are opportunities like this that I'm always grateful for. And by the way, I would have had the same conversation just with you without
Yeah,
a record button, right?
yeah,
And so avail yourself of those opportunities to communicate with others, to learn from others, to reach out to others, and to not just learn what they're doing because, oh, I want to mimic it. Learn what they're doing because so that you don't do things that don't make you joyful, right? Like um we've talked a little, listing everything would make me miserable. It just would.
yeah,
But that doesn't make it less joyful for you, right? Like, and it shouldn't. Um, and I think we've issued some challenges here, which is fun. But like, that's the part. It's fun, right? Like, we don't
hmm
know. There's no wins or losses in reality. It's just a fun thing to do. So find the fun in all of this, because at the end of the day, it really did start out with a TCG where you were
yep.
hoping to beat your friend or have a good time, and I don't know that we have enough of that in this space. So
I'm not a
leave it.
biblical person, but what's that passage in the Bible? Like iron sharpens iron, man sharpens man.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. All too often, I end up quoting something like from The West Wing or from Fringe or one of a dozen movies. But at the end of when I think of this space, um, I'll go back to kind of what we started with 2 hours ago. I started on this journey because something unfortunate happened, and 10 years earlier when my dad got sick, the year after on Father's Day, I watched A Few Good Men. That's not A Few Good Men, A Men of Honor. And there's a scene in that movie. It's where I learned of the ASNF, A Son Never Forgets. And Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character is talking to De Niro's character, and Cuba is trying to get into the naval
Yep.
underwater, whatever the hell, right? And De Niro asked him, like, what did he tell you that made you fight this hard? Because they're just doing everything they can to get him out of the school. And he's like, he told me to be the best. And when I think of myself, I don't often think of that I'm the best, right? Like that I'm even achieving some days. But sometimes a helpful reminder that like somebody wants you to be the best. You should too. Whether that's your family, your friends, yourself, in a general sense, but like you don't have to show up every day and be your best, but you should want to be your best so that you can be what you want to be in this world. Forget everybody else. What do you want to be in this world?
Yeah.
Thor in Endgame, when he's talking to his mother, again, I can quote movies all fucking day. She talks to him about like we all fail at what we're supposed to be or who we're supposed to be. Go be who you are going to be. And in this cardboard world, I hope it's somebody that's kind. I hope it's somebody that can build. I hope it's somebody who's willing to take risks. I hope it's somebody that's willing to put in the work, put shoulder to the wheel, and somebody who's willing to, without fear, seek out assistance, whether that's education or information in general, or man, this fucking sucked and I just lost a bunch of money and I just need to talk to somebody. There's plenty of people out there that would listen. And a lot of people who I don't think take the time because, well, I don't want to be somebody, I don't want to be that person, or I don't want to bitch and everybody have to hear me. No, man, like we all have those days, right? I've effectively lit money on fire many a days, right? And that's why I have to build myself out of this hole. And so, everyone gives Phantom shit because, oh, we didn't start from zero. And I'm like, guys, there was never going to be a zero, right? But the reason I say in all of my videos is that I have $1 million in debt is because that's a reality, but also a reminder to those who have 30,000 or 10,000. Your journey may feel equally as drastic. The number doesn't matter. A lot of us are in debt. A lot of us have these challenges, whether it's actual financial debt or personal debts, or their life isn't where they want it to be. And when you're in this place of feeling in a deficit, it can be hard to look up and see the light. And what I would say to you is, this is a space where you can climb out, and whether it's debts or other challenges in life, but in doing so, remind yourself to throw down the goddamn rope so that the person behind you can climb out too. Um, I
To
know that
quote
this.
another, to quote a movie from Alfred Pennyworth,
Hmm,
"The night is darkest before the dawn."
absolutely.
You know.
But uh, I know that you're probably wanting to wrap up, so I just want to say before you do, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I
Oh yeah.
appreciate you bringing me on.
It was it was great. I like you, man. I have a when it comes to sleep, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it up on your days off. You can make it up wherever. But this is what the hobby's all about: talking to people, having 2-hour conversations, seeing where it goes. For whoever was watching, for as long as it is, I hope you made it to this point. I just, between me, our guest, it's this is a great space to be in, and just you can tackle it however you want. Hopefully, some of what we talked about resonated with you, and if it didn't, then thanks for hanging out. So before we go, if you want to one last time, let everyone know who you are and where to find you, and then we will sayonara.
Sure. So the easiest thing to do is just go to my website, AVATCG.com. You can reach out to me, communicate with me, buy from me, sell to me, whatever you want to do. But I also post every day on YouTube. I could not get AVATCG.com, so it's AVA_TCG. And I also have an Instagram, but if you go to my website, you can join the Discord. I recommend that you do. We would love to have you, and you can always reach out to me on Discord. So appreciate the time today.
Yeah, man, not a problem. So yeah, make sure you guys check his Discord out, his YouTube channel out. We'll have his website. We'll have all the links in the description. So that was Sunday Morning Conversation with AVA TCG, and hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next one, and have a good night.